You won't believe the worst thing that keeps happening to explorers across South America. They keep stumbling onto creatures that shouldn't exist. Not in textbooks, not in biology labs, and definitely not in the world we think we understand. And every time someone thinks they've finally solved one mystery, another claw, footprint, or haunting scream rips the puzzle wide open. So, picture this. You're trekking through the Amazon, humidity thick as syrup, when you hear a low growl that reverberates like metal dragged across stone. Locals call it simply the black jaguar that isn't a jaguar, but that's not even close to the strangest beast lurking in these landscapes. The first creature that shakes your confidence is the Mapinguari, a towering red-haired brute said to walk on two legs with claws long enough to shred palm trunks. People whisper that it smells like death and moves with an unnatural slowness, as if time itself hesitates around it. At first, explorers wrote it off as folklore, but then rubber tappers began reporting massive single-track footprints deep in the forest. Prints that matched no known animal. Some even described a second mouth in its stomach. If you're doing jungle exploration like most amateurs, think twice. And just when you convince yourself that tales like that are exaggerated, you encounter the Moñái, a creature of the Guaraní that isn't just strange. It bends logic. It's said to have a single hypnotic eye, capable of drawing travelers toward it like a human moth to a nightmare flame. Anyone following its beacon ends up lost, confused, or trapped in its rocky domain. But the terrifying part isn't the Moñái itself. It's the stories from people who claim they snapped out of a trance miles from the path they remember walking. They swear something was pulling their thoughts, nudging their feet. It's one thing to fear claws. It's another to fear your own mind turning against you. Every legend in South America seems to lead to another question mark. Spend enough time in Argentina and you'll hear hushed talk about the uku, a massive ape-like creature with a human-like face and a scream that resonates through valleys like a woman crying for help. Locals say it watches from a distance, always just behind the tree line, studying more than stalking. Hunters swear they've seen it shake entire trees with its strength. The strange part? There are consistent sightings from people who have never met, separated by decades. Their descriptions line up: the same face, the same penetrating eyes, the same unsettling gait. You start to wonder, are they all seeing the same creature or the same species? But if forests hide terrors, rivers hide worse. Imagine drifting along the tributaries of the Amazon when the water around you suddenly goes still. The villagers warn you about the Yakumama, the mother of the waters, a creature said to be a serpent the width of a canoe. Some call it a spiritual guardian. Others swear it's a predator. Ancient petroglyphs show coiled giants swallowing boats whole. Even modern accounts describe huge, shadowy forms beneath the water. Too long, too smooth, too deliberate to be an anaconda. Something that big shouldn't exist. Yet too many claim they've heard its slow, powerful breaths just before the river erupts. Travel farther north, and another aquatic nightmare emerges. The lobizon, often described as South America's werewolf. But the mythology goes deeper than Hollywood cliches. Families tell of seventh sons, cursed at birth, condemned to roam the countryside, transformed into a wolf-like beast every Friday. What's eerie is how these tales overlap with rural police reports of shredded livestock, enormous tracks, and sightings of emaciated men with glowing eyes wandering at dusk. That's when you begin to question whether these stories are metaphors for something else, or evidence of a real curse carried through bloodlines. But nothing quite warps the boundary between folklore and physical reality, like the Chilean legend of the Pushan. This shape-shifting vampire creature is said to transform into a snake or even a winged beast, capable of paralyzing its victims with just a hiss or a stare. You hear tales of farmers who wake up to find their animals drained of blood, with no tracks around the bodies. No sign of a struggle, no sign of entry. Just silence and emptiness, really. There's something about that precision that feels, well, too surgical to dismiss, if you ask me. People often compare it to the chupacabra, but it's older, colder, and definitely more patient. The kind of creature that doesn't chase. It selects. Then comes the pishtaco of the Andean highlands, a fear that has gripped communities for, centuries. It's described as a tall, pale figure that stalks the night, stealing fat from villagers, sometimes said to be used for rituals, other times for machinery. As absurd as that may sound, its presence has been so deeply ingrained in the culture that travelers have been attacked simply for resembling this phantom. And back in the 1960s, the fear reached such levels that entire villages refused to leave their homes after sunset. The terror isn't just the creature itself. It's the idea that it blends into humanity with, well, too much ease. But the strangest thing happens when you cross into Patagonia. The land is so vast, so empty, it feels almost designed to hide giants. And that's where stories of the Patagonian Gaité, a race of towering, shaggy beings, take root. Early explorers wrote about encountering people twice their height, men with booming voices and strides so long they moved like shadows stretched by the sun. Modern hikers still report distant silhouettes that vanish behind rocks too quickly for creatures that size. It feels absurd until you remember. The world still has corners untouched by science, and Patagonia has many. Still, none of these creatures evoke the dread that the La Llorona-like spirits of the Amazon stir. The Curupira, protectors of the forest with feet turned backward to confuse hunters. Their footprints lead you deeper and deeper into the unknown until you realize you've been walking in circles for hours. Hunters claim to hear mocking laughter from the canopy before realizing they're lost miles beyond any path they knew. The Curupira doesn't attack. It lets the forest do the work. And that's somehow more terrifying. Yet the creature that edges out all the others, the one that leaves experienced researchers genuinely unsettled, is the El Pombero of Paraguay, a small, shadowy figure that slips into homes, steals food, imitates voices, and disappears without trace. People say if you whistle in the forest at night, it will whistle back. Not aggressively, just close enough, just human enough. And sometimes it stands behind you without making a sound. That kind of presence changes something in you, because it's not a monster you run from. It's one that learns you. And here's the strange truth, tying all these beasts together. Every one of them has persisted for centuries through stories told by people who never met, never shared languages, never compared notes. These creatures live at the edges of maps, in the shadows of mountains, beneath canopies so thick sunlight forgets its way in. Whether they are real animals, spiritual manifestations, or echoes of human fear woven into flesh, they all hint at the same unsettling possibility, that South America is not fully discovered. Not scientifically, not mythologically, not even close. So when you wander deep into that landscape and the wind shifts, carrying a growl, a breath, or a whisper that doesn't belong to any creature you know, you might just be standing near the truth. One of these beasts might be real, and it might be watching.